What's up, everybody? Today we're taking a break from business, and Emily is going to demolish Joe Rogan, and we want all the comments below on your opinion on Emily's reaction. Howdy, I'm Dr. Alejandro.
And I'm Dr. Emily.
And as many of you know, we have 3 clinics on our first 3 years in practice.
If you enjoy our content, make sure you subscribe and share with your colleagues and future colleagues to get on the path to victory.
You have to understand how things are up here. I had a similar issue with my neck where it was pushing on my ulnar nerve and I was getting this elbow pain. And I was like, fuck, this really hurts, like down my arm and in the back of my tricep. And then I started getting numbness in my fingers. And that's when I started figuring out what was going on. Then I went to a doctor. I went to a chiropractor first, which is a fucking giant mistake. I spent a year.
But do you not believe in chiropractors?
I don't believe in chiropractors at all. I think it's 98% horseshit. That's what I think. And I don't know, but I think chiropractors that are smart, they incorporate things that I think are beneficial. Cold laser, massage, a lot of different things. But I think that manipulation that they do, unless you have like some sort of significant scoliosis or something they're attempting to slowly put back into position, I think most of the time it's just popping your neck and it just feels good. But I just
like in an immediate sense.
I went to a guy that's a very nice guy, and he was trying to tell me that I didn't have a bulging disc because he was pushing down on the top of my head and it didn't hurt. I'm like, okay.
Can you stop that?
Yeah.
What do you think he means with pressing down his head?
Oh, man. So many things to unpack here. Dr. Joe Rogan here. Pushing down on his neck is an orthopedic test that doctors of chiropractic do.
Now, let's talk about this. Who usually does the orthopedic test? Is it like cash-based chiropractors or insurance-based chiropractors?
Usually insurance-based.
So this is telling us that Joe Rogan went to a shitty chiropractor.
Yeah.
And that's why he's criticizing now and saying 98% of chiropractors are trash.
For sure. And he said it was a big effing mistake because this chiropractor didn't take any images before he adjusted Joe, obviously. He did an orthopedic test. He probably did some other like exam findings. And then Joe's just saying like, oh, they just popped my neck here and there. There's so much more that is behind a chiropractic adjustment versus just popping somebody's neck.
What do you mean with that?
Okay, so he's calling it a manipulation. We call it a spinal adjustment, right? We call it an adjustment because we are adjusting a bone to get it back into its optimal or proper position. What Joe had is basically nerve compression on his ulnar nerve, which stems from the lower cervical, C7, C8. And if you've got compression on that nerve, yes, it's going to radiate down your arm. So the goal is then to put the bone back into its proper position to get the pressure off of the nerve.
So it's impossible to know without images.
Have to have images. That's
at least
mistake
X-rays,
number one.
Correct. Mistake number one is that he didn't take pictures and still Joe Rogan went and got adjusted by the dude.
Absolutely. And with Joe's past, if you know about his history, he's been in a lot of like UFC fighting. His neck is probably awful. It's probably disgusting to see an x-ray of his neck. So I think it would be the smartest thing to know his case history. You have to take imaging. And that's one thing that we will never
a lot of chiropractors know that, but if you're not a chiropractor and you're actually a patient and you go to a chiropractor and they don't take pictures, cross it. Okay, red light.
Run away.
So that's example number
away.
1 there.
Yes.
They didn't take pictures, and he went for a year like that without pictures. If you have a patient and he's still having the same symptoms and it's a neurological issue and it's been more than a month or 2 months, dude, you have to send them for an MRI.
That's right.
Okay, like if you didn't take x-rays, at least take x-rays before, but absolutely we take pictures. If the patient hasn't changed in a month, 2 months, you have to take it to an MRI.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I will say too, I don't know how long, Joe, did you say he went for a year?
For a whole year, dude.
He went for a whole year and never felt better. I don't care who you are, but I think that's a big red flag.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to a gym for a year and you see absolutely no change, don't you think you should like maybe ask some questions or be like, hey, I think maybe we might need to like reevaluate what's going on here.
Yeah.
Also, one thing, I don't want to like bash technique, but it sounds like this guy was probably like a flying 7 chiropractor.
Absolutely.
And so he didn't have any specificity in his.
What do you mean with fly 7? Can you break that apart?
So a flying 7 chiropractor is somebody they do, I think they start with like, they do a lumbar roll, then they flip over, they do the other lumbar roll, they do 3 or 4 thoracic sets, then they basically adjust your neck on one side,
then left side.
Then do it on the left side, usually higher up in an upper cervical. But basically they do the same thing to every patient. And especially with no imaging, like how can this guy actually know what he's adjusting?
Yeah.
And how can he know that he's got a, pinched or a compressed nerve when he doesn't have any type of like analysis to go through with that.
Yeah.
So that's, first of all, technique has to be specific, especially when it comes to a compressed nerve. You have to be on point with what you're doing.
And he talks about laser there. That's kind of a mistake that Joe Rogan made. Laser is not going to help you with that. Actually, the compression chiropractic adjustment was like help him 100%.
Yeah.
But again, they didn't have pictures, so the chiropractor was never going to know. So we'll take that L for the chiropractic profession due to a wrong chiropractor there. Let's keep going and see.
Was listening to him. I listened to this guy for like a fucking year. I had
That's a mistake you did, Joe.
And I still have these neck problems and back problems. Then finally I got an MRI and they're like, yeah, you got a bulging disc. And I remember being angry. Because I was angry that I was being treated by someone who was a professional that really didn't know what the fuck they were talking about. And they were.
Okay, and that's another mistake. If you're a chiropractor, you know about this. You're not treating the condition. Okay, you have to correct it. Because if he's treating it, Joe will have that same pain forever, basically, because the root cause is not corrected.
That's right.
Okay, so Joe is still uneducated there. It's supposed to be corrected. So you're supposed to correct it rather than treating the condition.
And I'll agree with Joe here. I would have been angry too. If he sent me out for an MRI and I'm like, oh, I actually did have a bulging disc, but you told me I didn't. But again, how would he know if he didn't take any?
And you talk a little bit of business there, because like he mentioned his knee behind the knee. So that's why it's so important knowing the knee behind the knee of every patient. For Joe, is basically going back to jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
You know, so you need to like reverse engineer that as a chiropractor and say, what is the fastest way to get Joe back to jiu-jitsu?
Yep.
Freaking take pictures. Okay.
Continue.
They were treating something that was a significant issue that I was experiencing, a real deterioration of my function, pain. I wasn't able to do jiu-jitsu correctly. There was a lot of problems that I was dealing with that I was like, well, what the fuck is this? Like, and then I started talking to doctors about it. And when you have a bulging disc, man, they want to cut you open like you're a piñata and you got gold inside.
Well,
of
that's
100%. I 100% agree with Joe here, because if he goes to, let's say, a spinal surgeon or an orthopedic surgeon, they're going to be like, oh, you have a bulging disc. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to fuse those bones. We're going to do a discectomy. We're going to do a laminectomy. Whatever.
And that's 90 grand for the doctor, actually.
Yep.
Okay, 90,000 for one surgery. Of course, it's going to open you like a piñata, Joe.
Yep.
And as well, the research that states if you get a surgery, it could be lower back or neck, you're going to need another surgery in 5 years, above or below.
That's right. Yeah, you can't affect just one segment with spinal fusions or spinal surgeries. It's going to automatically affect the segments above or below. And that's something that we tell our patients all the time. We're trying to prevent you from getting surgery, because once you do that, you cannot undo the surgery that's already been done.
Yeah, but again, like I understand Joe and where he's coming from, his anger, and why he's trashing chiropractic.
Yeah.
And I've had this argument since I was in school, because there's so many chiropractors there that are doing trash, but it's because they're in the insurance model, and that's what the insurance want them to do. Okay,
Yep.
Insurance is forcing you to do this, but it's not going to work. That's why you need to get out of the network and do your own thing and help the people.
Yep.
But if you're playing the insurance game, you're not going to be able to help people, and that's why people like Joe Rogan is trashing on the profession.
And putting a cold laser or an ice pack or a TENS unit or e-stim, whatever, it's a palliative thing. It's going to make it feel good, but again, it's not getting to the root cause of the issue. So continue.
A thing that my bro is talking about is he's very nervous about a procedure that he could or could not do.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, this was a video, I think, over 7 years ago, if we're seeing that right. Joe, I implore you, if you're listening to us right now, go see a specific chiropractor. You obviously did not go to a good one. There are bad dentists, there are bad lawyers, there are bad doctors out there, but it shouldn't write off the entire profession. I've been to a bad dentist. Guess what? I still go to the dentist. I just chose a different one, right? If you go to a bad chiropractor and you've had a bad experience, go to somebody who actually knows what they're doing, who is specific, who takes images, and who actually listens to you and your needs.
100%.